Thanks for joining us tonight here on ARC Salt Lake. I'm Brian Schnee. Tuesday, January 20th. Tonight we're taking a look at what Utah lawmakers had to say about their goals for this year's legislative session on their first day of the session on Utah's Capitol Hill. But first, it seemed a little less hazy outside today. Does that mean there's anything changing? Does that mean that winter, maybe a storm is rolling in? I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Meteorologist Sean Kelly here with our first alert forecast. Sean, I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I think we got to wait maybe 14 days. Yeah, there's nothing really in the forecast. There's a storm in the weekend to clean out the air for a few days here, but not give us any beneficial rain or snow. Yeah, you'll see the air quality will get worse here before it gets better as we head towards the end of the week. A little bit less haze, but still hazy out there. It's a chilly evening. We're currently at 35 degrees. Temperatures across much of the northern part of the state into the 30s. 22 already in Brighton, 34 in Park City, 29 in Heber, and then down towards the south, plenty cold as well. 29 in Monticello, 33 in Panguitch, 49 in St. George. As we head through the overnight, it's going to be quite cold. Down into the 20s we go again. We do have some milder days ahead, at least something to look forward to, but again, not much. We'll talk about that coming up in my first alert weather forecast.
All right, Sean, thank you. Now back to the start of the 2026 legislative session. Earlier today, House Speaker Mike Schultz talked about what he wants to have happen in terms of judicial transparency. Take a listen.
I want to start off by saying, we're excited to hear from Chief Justice Durant. I got a lot of respect for him and his service to the state over the years. We've got a lot of great judges all across the state. But there are some legitimate concerns out there, and transparency is one of those big issues. You look at how transparent the website is for the legislative branch, for the executive branch as well, and you don't see the same thing in the judicial system. And one of those became, that I found out about it because of Judge Torgerson. I went to try to asked our attorneys to try to find, all the rulings that he ruled on over the years to see if there was some sort of a pattern there or anything. And I got brought back 13 news stories that you all did. And they said, well, that's all we can find because we can't get the access to the courts. And so I'm grateful that we were able to pick up the phone and call the courts, and they provided the information that we wanted to or was looking for. But that's an advantage that I have as Speaker of the House that the average citizen doesn't have, that you all don't have. And so we want the judiciary to come up with a website that's similar to the legislative branches, where every vote we make is public, every comment on the record we make is public, it's easy, it's accessible. You've heard a lot around independent. We want the judiciary to be independent. I'm sure Chief Justice will hit on that today. We agree. We think the judiciary should be independent. We think the legislative branch should be independent, and the executive branch should be independent. That's what our Constitution says. And so we will we will follow the Constitution in trying to work to make the judicial branch more transparent. We want to do so collaboratively with the judicial branch. We're hoping that they're willing to work together with us on these things, but we'll see.
Before we move on, in full transparency here, can we find a way to put a microphone on everybody during media availability when we talk about the legislature? Maybe we can do that in the next 44 days too, so we can hear what the speaker is saying. Speaker Schultz also talked about income tax cuts and how they're trying to keep a balanced budget throughout this session.
Well, we've been fortunate. You look at other states, these are high tax states and states that actually increase taxes. California is looking at $18 billion deficit. New York and Illinois are $6 to $10 billion deficits. We have been able to reduce the income tax over the last 5 years, and we still had additional revenue to make sure that our needs were met here in the state of Utah. And when so many other states all across the country are facing deficits, I know Arizona is one of those ones that cut their taxes huge. They're facing big deficits this year of $1 billion to $2 billion. we've done it in a very responsible, steady, slow way to make sure that we don't end up in a problem to where we are not meeting our needs. We're going to take that same philosophy that we've taken over the last 5 years, implement it into this year. Last year we had several cuts throughout government that helped us fund the tax cut that we did last year. I'm assuming that will probably happen somewhat this year, we'll see. But we do have some additional money identified that we're looking at that will get us somewhere between $100–200 million in additional income tax cuts.
Where does that come from?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Senate Democrats also spoke with reporters today, outlining their priorities and answering some questions. Their theme for legislation this year, for the love of Utah.
There are obviously different groups in our communities that are being attacked directly. There's not even a subtle way of doing it. It's just they're coming with everything. Many of them are coming from the House. That does give some sense of, that we're in the upper chamber, and the Senate seems to be a place where we things at least are measured in a different way. And I personally, we will be having these conversations with leadership. We do meet with them every week, and we are concerned, but many of them are in the House. So the hardest part for us is hearing and seeing what's happening over there as we're kind of like just waiting, and if they all come in the last week, which is unfortunately with the way the timing piece. So our goal is that the House can solve some of those things, but just groups that are being attacked are more underserved on, communities that it's just mean.
I've said it before in other sessions, and I'm going to repeat it again this session, because I really think it is so important that as the super minority party that we still have the ability to move forward on offense for good policies I'm looking at this year that do continue to address the opioid crisis, that look at dyslexia policies, that look at vitamin K, which is something we're seeing people refuse for their infants in Utah, and it leads to increased bleeding in kids. I'm working on a non-compete clause for some of our professionals. You can look at any of our lists of bills and see all of the areas where we touch these pieces, but more than anything, we want folks to feel like this isn't all going to be defense this session, even though we know there are some really difficult, some might even say horrifying bills that are coming out. To me, those feel like distractions from the real issues at hand for our communities. We want to focus on those real issues, not on the cruel distractions.
Good points. That's also what it's like to stand in front of a microphone. So lawmakers are already starting to look at what fits in the state's budget and what they could cut. The Utah Board of Education recommended lawmakers slash $10.6 million in funding for software programs that help improve literacy for kids. Lev Kelleher with the latest.
It's like, if our kids are already struggling with reading, then why do we want to cut that? We want to help them. That doesn't make any sense.
I think if there's a problem, we should be allocating more resources to it.
According to the state's website, this program encourages literacy growth and achievement through an interactive software. The board recommended cutting 100% of the funding.
We see that reading levels are suffering right now, and that shows we do need to be investing more.
Jennifer Stout is an early education policy analyst with Voices for Utah Children. She's also a mom.
We do not have the funding that's needed, especially in early childhood education.
She says early intervention is key.
Kids who are not on a reading level by 3rd grade have a 4 times chance higher to fail out of high school. They won't even graduate.
This data supported by the Kemsey-Gardner study. One justification from the board was a competing priority to reduce screen time for students, an argument Stout understands.
Let's put the emphasis on the whole child and not just try to slap a Band-Aid to find the solution.
But she says reducing funding will only hurt students.
I don't think cuts at all make sense. I think we should be investing in our children. I think they should be reallocating the money, not just cutting it.
The legislature has the final say on the USBE's budget and are expected to cut 5% in total.
It's showing that they're not prioritizing education, and so we shouldn't even be asking this question. We should be asking, why did they put education on the chopping block?
Now, that study out of the Kemsey-Gardner Institute does note that Utah has a deliberately high standard for what's considered reading at grade level. tomorrow, the Public Education Appropriations Subcommittee will meet to discuss the USBE's budget recommendations. Reporting in Salt Lake City, Liv Kelleher, KUTV 2 News.
Liv, thank you. We'll keep you updated on all the proposed legislation and how it will impact your family, both here on air, on our website, KUTV.com. The easiest way to do all of the business is probably doing what you're doing right now, using your phone. So use the 2 News mobile app. The legislative session ends March 6th. Still ahead here on ARC Salt Lake, a hotbed for measles. Just how many notifications the Washington County School District has had to send parents in the last 5 months. Utah now has the second largest outbreak of measles in the United States, 210 confirmed cases within a year, more than 150 in southwestern Utah. 4 confirmed cases at Dixie High School, one of the exposure sites. Samantha Hoffman reports.
If those kids have younger siblings, it gets spread to the elementaries, maybe even to daycares.
People around Dixie High have mixed opinions on the outbreak. Some say they don't vaccinate their kids, not worried about the illness. Others beg them to reconsider.
I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better.
The Washington County School District says they've had to send 8 notification letters to parents since August.
It does happen often that parents will call and say, I think my child has the measles, and we'll encourage them to visit their doctor and be tested.
Stephen Dunham from the school district says they only notify parents if the case is confirmed.
If they don't go into the doctor to be tested and it's not a confirmed case of measles, there's nothing we can do. There could be more cases in our community that we're not aware of.
The Southwest Utah Health Department says signs of measles are white spots in the mouth or a red rash. They say the disease could spread quicker in schools.
If an infected student comes and they're inside a classroom, inside a cafeteria, and they're just breathing, they've now spread that virus in the air that can again remain there for up to 2 hours.
Could you foresee any mandates occurring in the future if this continues escalating?
Not likely in our district. We really trust our community partners and parents to largely do the right thing.
If you begin to see more cases in schools, should students expect any changes?
You know, I don't think so. We'll work closely with the health department and follow any guidelines they provide to us.
Would there ever be vaccine mandates or remote learning if cases spread?
We can't do that. We don't have the authority to do that.
The legislature, Dunham says, limited that authority after the COVID-19 outbreak. The health department recommends people get the vaccine, though they have seen cases appear even for those vaccinated.
Being vaccinated was not a concern for people of my generation. They just did everybody. And now it just seems with the advent of social media, there's so much information everywhere all the time. It's hard to know what is true and what is not.
Samantha Hoffman, KUTV 2 News.
Today was the beam signing for a new air traffic control tower in St. George. The regional airport there in St. George currently uses the Los Angeles Center Air Control Tower. That is in Palmdale, California. The switch to a local tower needed as St. George has a mixed fleet of traffic with commercial and local aircraft. When complete, the tower will be 80 feet tall. The new tower will ensure safety and allow growth in the airport's flight capacity.
This will give us eyes on the ground. It'll help traffic flow efficiency and keeping separation and between airplanes, and a byproduct of all that is safety, which is number one.
The tower, funded by state appropriations. The airport expects construction to finish by October 26th. It will then need FAA certification before operating. This will be the 4th tower operating in Utah, the first outside of the Wasatch Front. Got to get a tower when you're growing, and that's what's happening in St. George. Let's talk about the weather now. I guess it's just a time to tell you, Sean, that it'd be nice if you could just, change the dial a little bit. I know the number behind you is supposed to be encouraging. It's really been a weak winter. I mean, got to be honest with you, it has been a weak winter, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
And I want the greatest snow on earth. I want Utah to have the good stuff.
Yeah, I would not say this is encouraging at all. 64%, that's pretty bad.
Better than half.
I mean, it sure is. It's better, yeah. It's better than 0, too. I mean, if you want to go
D.
there. But, a week ago, or about a week and a half ago, we were at 76%. I think that was kind of our peak. And then we've seen a huge dent, a huge shrinking amount in the snowpack with all the melting going on with the warm temperatures and also the lack of snow. We need snow, we need storms, and unfortunately, we're dealing with the least amount of snow ever here in Salt Lake City for this winter, but also a pretty dry season so far up at Alta. 141 inches so far, 109 inches below normal. Where's the cold? Well, the real big cold is up into Midwest. By the way, the Midwest, the Northeast, I mean, these areas have seen a significant amount of snow so far in comparison to what they typically see for this time of the year. 0-degree wind chill, by the way, in the Chicago area. 30s up and down the Wasatch Front after seeing another mild day with temperatures into the 40s. Air quality issues will linger until we get a storm that moves in. Will be in the moderate category, so not quite as bad as last week. You can see we're dry across much of the west. High pressure system will make sure that we'll see a little bit more cloudier skies as we get into Thursday. And then as we get from Friday night into Saturday will be our next storm. But all the moisture will be down towards the southeastern part of the state. That's where we could see some snow, mainly across the higher elevations. But this will be a storm, and a big one, impactful, in fact, probably crippling storm for much of the nation with major delays and cancellations for flights for the southeast. We already have areas in the Texas area, Oklahoma, Arkansas, portions of Louisiana under a winter storm watch. These areas will be hit hard this weekend for freezing rain, plenty of ice, sleet, snow, you name it. This is going to be a wintry mess for much of the nation, including significant portions of the southeast and then eventually the northeast. So unfortunately, we're on the northern end of the storm, the dry part of the storm. Go figure, right? Every single state can seem to get some snow except us. Lows tonight, we're down into the 20s. We're going to continue to dry weather tomorrow. We're into the 40s for highs, and it's kind of the same boring weather, but at least pleasant weather for St. George. You're nearing 60 degrees for the next several days. We're into the lower 50s with a few showers on Saturday. Nicer weather into Sunday, and then across the Wasatch Front, we're into the 40s with hazy skies. Dealing with dry conditions Friday. Heading into the weekend, we're a little bit colder because of that colder weather, at least with the storm. It cleans out the air. Yeah, it's just kind of a boring weather pattern here, Brian.
Yeah, this is annoying.
Kind of makes me sad, actually.
Yeah, it makes me sad. I talked about it earlier, just kind of off air, saying it's cold. It might as well snow. It might as well give us the goods. And I was flying into Salt Lake yesterday, and it's just very disappointing to see the air quality for one, but also two, no snow on the valley floor. I mean, Utah has 4 seasons and just doesn't feel like it.
You know, we're living through history right now.
Unfortunately, yes.
The least amount of snow here in the Salt Lake Valley. Every single state can seem to get snow except us. Even the Panhandle, Florida Panhandle, saw snow over the weekend.
Yeah, I don't like it. Anyway, I'm going to complain about it until it changes. Coming up on ARC Salt Lake, Zion National Park, picking its artists and residents for 2026, how you can see them as they work. All right, wait a sec. Missed having Sean Kelly here. Thank you, Sean. Zion National Park says 3 people will serve as artists in residence this year. These artists will present 2 public programs tailored to their mediums, which include concert composing, digital art, painting, and tattoo art.
Yeah, they'll also host open studio hours so they can interact with visitors. Finally, they'll submit an original piece of work within 6 months of leaving Zion. Rangers say the art will better help visitors understand and appreciate the park.
Yeah, art is one thing at Zion, but just go there and open your eyes.
I mean, yeah,
it
just,
is unreal.
you don't need art.
It is unreal.
To
like,
see how it's
Zion
incredible.
is picture perfect just through the lens that you got just outside the nose here. For you, party animal, Airbnb reminding people not to use their site to book party spots during Sundance. You got to behave this year, Sean.
Unless you're inviting us.
Unless we're getting the invite. During Sundance, the site says it will use new tech to screen reservations, make sure they don't lead to any disruptive parties. Don't break the curfew time, anybody.
Yeah. Airbnb says anyone who violates their no large party rule could have their stay canceled.
Yeah, and we can't, move the festival before it begins.